Hello friends, welcome to Sachdeva classes. Before we begin this session, wish you a very happy Independence Day. May you all get freedom from all the so-called problems in your life. And with this note, we are going to start this session. In this session, we are going to discuss about the preference shares and more particularly about the participating preference shares. So guys, as you know, there are several types of preference shares. One is cumulative and non-cumulative preference shares, redeemable and irredeemable preference shares, convertible and non-convertible preference shares. Similarly, we have participating and non-participating preference shares. And in this session, we are going to discuss about the participating preference shares. So let's begin. So friends, what are participating preference shares? As we just discussed that these are the specific type of preference shares that entitles its shareholders to priority dividends. That is, these shareholders have a priority claim on dividends over the common equity shareholders. Let's say company wants to distribute some dividends. It will have to first declare the dividends on the participating preference shareholders, and then only they can give dividend to the normal common equity shareholders. Plus, these shareholders have a right to participate in the surplus profits of the company. Let's say the company has done exceptionally well and has generated surplus profits. Then these shareholders have a right to participate in these surplus profits as well. However, all this will depend on the terms of the contracts. So let us try to understand this with the help of an example. So friends, in this example, the profit attributable to equity shareholders is 1 lakh rupees. Ordinary equity shares are 10,000, non-convertible preference shares are 6,000. Non-cumulative annual dividend on preference shares is 5.5 per share. That is before any dividend is paid to ordinary shareholders. Participating preference shares will get a dividend of 5.5 rupees per share. After ordinary shares have been paid a dividend of 2.1 per share, that is ordinary equity shareholders have a right of to claim a dividend of 2.1 per share. Once these are paid, the preference shareholders can participate in the additional dividends on a 20 is to 80 ratio with ordinary shares. So friends, let us now see how this profit of 1 lakh will be distributed among the participating preference shares and the common equity shareholders. So let's say the profit of the companies are as given in the example is 1 lakh rupees. This will be first apportioned to preference shareholders at the rate of rupees 5.5 per share. So preference dividend will be 6,000 shares into 5.5 per share, that comes out to 33,000 rupees. Then equity dividend will be paid. Equity dividend will be paid at the rate of 2.1 per share, that is 10,000 into 2.1, which comes out to 21,000. So what is the surplus profit which is left after the distribution of the normal profits? It is 46,000 rupees. So friends, let us see how this 46,000 will be distributed among the participating preference shares who have a right on these additional dividends on a 20 is to 80 ratio with the ordinary shares. So let's see the calculation. So preference shares are 10,000, 6,000, and equity shares are 10,000. These are the number of shares. Ratio is 20 is to 80. We will multiply this 6,000 into 20 and 1 lakh into 10,000 into 80, and this 46,000 will be distributed in this ratio. So let's see, 46,000 divided by 9 lakh 20 into 1 lakh 20, and 46,000 divided by 9 lakh 20 into 8 lakh rupees. So this is how the additional dividend will get distributed among the preference shareholders as well as the equity shareholders. So let us see what is the per share dividend. So per share dividend is 6,000 divided by 6,000 preference shares and 40,000 divided by 10,000 preference shares. So this is the additional dividend which the preference shareholders and equity shareholders will get. And what was the nominal dividend? Normal dividend was 5.5 rupees for preference shareholders and 2.1 rupee for per share for equity shareholders. So the total per share value is 6.5 and 6.1 per share. So friends, as you can see, the preference shareholders, the participating preference shareholders are not only entitled to a dividend of 5.5 per share, they are also entitled an additional dividend in the surplus profits of the company in the ratio 20 is to 80. This can be any ratio, 20 is to 80, 50 is to 50. That entirely depends on the contractual terms. So friends, an important point to note here is we have not discussed about the equity and liability component on the preference shares and the dividend and expense portion on the preference shares. For that, you can refer our earlier videos on in the playlist financial instruments. So guys, that's all for the session.